British ambassador quoted it back, bless her.
Yes.
She was very good.
The likelihood of the British government carrying out an attack in Syria with chemical weapons is obviously laughable. However, I think the Russians feel very much hemmed in right now, not just because of what happened in Syria, but don't forget, over 20 countries have kicked out a number of Russian diplomats, and I think Russia is just feeling hemmed in, and they don't quite know how to handle this. They are trying to protect their friend Assad, and they've been protecting him even before they had troops on the ground in Syria from September 2015. But they regularly lie about what is happening and what is not happening in Syria. We've seen this time and time again. It's very serious. I think the situation is very serious in Syria, and I also think that the U.S. will be incredibly careful once it does launch an attack. I think an attack is inevitable. I think the U.S. will be very careful to avoid hitting any Russian target or getting anywhere near a Russian target. There has always been an agreement with the Russians, a deconfliction agreement between the U.S. and the Russians, and I suspect that they will keep those channels open. Yes, so mistakes do happen. However, there are channels of communication that are open, and so I think that will be manageable. What will be more difficult to manage is if the Russians do indeed carry out on their threat, not only to potentially strike down a missile, but the platform from which the missile was launched, which could be a Navy destroyer, an American Navy destroyer, and that would be escalating in a significant way. And so that's where the trouble might come in, if they actually take an action like that. But that would be not a mistake. That would be something they've done on purpose. And of course, Americans would be ready if that were to happen. But that is really escalating into potential war. Yeah, I'm gonna do it now. It's a great question. If the U.S. launches an attack on Syria, presumably with the help of the United Kingdom and France, and maybe Saudi Arabia, and maybe even Qatar, it's not going to end the civil war in Syria, and it could just end up being a pinprick. What we all have to hope will happen is that the Brits and the French will push the Americans into making a commitment to get back into a meaningful diplomatic process in Syria.
And the British ambassador quoted it back, bless her.
Yes.